as the Uprising takes on the Excelsior. But it's time to get into our first match of the day. Are you guys ready? Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage. We got the London Spitfire. London, arguably the second most stacked lineup behind the Seoul Dynasty, and they're the only team in the league with 12 active players on their lineup. Crumbs, how big of a benefit is this for them?
It is an absolute massive advantage coming into this matchup because 12 players allows you to diversify your strategy more than anything else. You have players with specific roles, they can practice specific maps, and on top of that, you keep your opponents guessing every single time.
Yeah, and another benefit coming with having those two rosters is, of course, the possibility of internal scrims. If they do want, they can just keep every strat they have internal and don't have to give away literally anything at all. And that makes it incredibly hard to actually practice and prepare against London Spitfire.
Yeah, so one of the players I really want everybody to be looking out for today in this matchup has got to be Fury. This is a guy that I've been speaking about for quite some time. He was a bit of an unknown player, actually. He played for Team Liquid before, this a Western team, and eventually got picked up here by the London Spitfires. And the guy is an absolutely incredible D.Va player. Anyone who wants to learn how to play D.Va should really be keeping a close eye on him.
I feel like you could just describe all 6 of these men on their main stage as incredible players, but they're going up against some stiff competition. Please welcome our second team to the stage for the day. It's the Florida Mayhem. From the biggest roster to the smallest, we have the 6-man core of the Florida Mayhem coming out to the stage. And while they didn't show their full force in the preseason, this is a lineup that's been playing together for 6 months now, Bren.
Yeah, 6 months indeed, one of the longest standing rosters you've got in front of us. Very much a David versus Goliath situation as well when it comes to these roster sizes. But really now, Florida Mayhem, they've got to be focusing on their key players to really get a win under their belts today. And that player is Logix. Logix, very mechanically skilled. There's the man right there. And he is an incredible tracer player at that.
And in this matchup, it's not just about mechanics, but because they are outmanned, each player on the Mayhem roster is going to have to be pulling a little bit more than their weight when it comes to flexibility, being able to adapt on the fly, and in their strategies in each matchup will be the determining factor on how they do against the Spitfire.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, even if a lot of people say that the meta doesn't really fit this roster that well at the moment, we do have players such as Sebozai, Logic, and Manitin who can all play that Widowmaker role, for example. And they might be able to actually build some unique strats off of this kind of flexibility.
Now, even though this team has been playing together for 6 months, I was talking to Vic. I was like, what happened in the preseason, dude? He said, honestly, we didn't practice. We flew to America. We played the first day. They're coming back fully prepared now for their first match in the regular season, and we got to break this one down. The big thing that I'm seeing coming into this matchup is during the preseason, London Spitfire just showed us 2 looks. It was either the GC Busan lineup or Kongdu. Today, you got players from both of those lineups mixed into the starting teams.
This is basically the go tanks of this team, and we expect them to continue mix and matching this squad in order to diversify their strategy even more, because now it's not just one roster or the other, but a mixture of the two. How do you even tackle preparation of that? Well, the answer is you look internally. You don't really care about what the opponent's doing. You need to have your own strategy and play be solid.
So both teams got some practice time after the preseason. How do you see them comparing today?
You know what? I think it's going to be the big matchup of the DPS players. Logic and Twig, definitely the biggest strength that the Florida Mayhem has. But they're going up against, arguably, some of the best DPS players in this whole league with Prophet, Rascal, Birdring, and Turex. So this is going to be really tough for the Florida Mayhem.
It's going to be a great matchup. Vic and Logix are going to have their hands full, but it's time to get the official predictions. Bren, you were 3 for 3 yesterday. Can you make it 4 for 4? Who are you going with in this first match?
I'm going to be going with London Spitfires for this one. It's going to be a 4-0. I really do believe that they've got what it takes, to be honest. Florida Mayhem didn't have a great showing in the preseason. That's my decision.
Crumbs, I know you've been watching all kinds of gameplay. Who are you going with today?
Well, I'm actually going to be going with the London Spitfire as well, but in a 4-0 fashion. But I want to highlight what the Mayhem can do to actually do something in this matchup, which is going to be the flexibility in the roster and being able to constantly add new players, new heroes to their strategy will at least give us something to hope for.
Yeah, I think I have to bandwagon here. I think it's going to be a 4-0 for the London Spitfire. I personally don't think that the Florida Mayhem has too much to answer what the London Spitfire can throw at them.
I want to hear from the crowd. Who out there thinks Florida Mayhem's walking away with the win today? We got some love for Florida. Who thinks it's going to be the London Spitfire walking away with the win? We got a lot of baby blue out in the crowd, but it's time to find out what are our casters wearing as we send it backstage.
All right, thank you, Pocket. This is it. Welcome everybody to the arena. We have finally made it. It's the second day of the Overwatch League. My name is Sembler, and with me is Hex, and we'll be bringing the action to you guys to start things off today. Hex, I mean, the crowd is hype. Are you excited?
I'm super excited. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a 4-0. I hope it's not a 4-0. I don't like those zeros on the board, and I think Mayhem can definitely bring some games to him at least.
I'm loving this, man. I mean, I'm sure that with a crowd like this, these guys are going to get butterflies in their stomachs. I know I have butterflies in my stomach right now. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that, but I am excited right now. This is so sick. And these guys, I mean, it was already highlighted on the desk. They have outstanding talent. They can do damage.
Looking beautiful in the powder blues. They're mixing up the roster.
I know you like that.
I'm a huge fan of the powder blues. Looking great in those, and they can mix it up. They've mixed up the rosters already.
And yeah, speaking of, well, mixing things up, it's going to really come down to the heroes. Crumbs pointed that out on the desk. These guys, this team, they don't have anybody to pull from. They have no substitutes. It's all going to come down to how versatile they can be in game. But I mean, you've got guys like Tvik, who really stands out in that case.
He has been the mark of versatility for this roster in Overwatch for a very long time. He can play darn near everything, and he's going to have to, because I think Logic's mostly going to stick on Tracer.
So this is it, the maps for today's first match here in the second day. It is going to be Dorado starting things off. And so, well, I don't think we're going to do predictions, Hex. We'll leave that to the desk. They can have fun with that. Maybe they'll get a graphic eventually if they really want to push it. But what do you think we can expect on this first map to start things off?
Well, I think Dorado lately, especially in the preseason, has been a map defined by Widowmaker play on defense, even on offense. So a lot of it is really defined on who can win that battle, and really, what are you going to do against it? What do you send after the Widow if you choose not to counter Widow?
Yeah, and so those guys, they're going to be focusing on this truck, and we're going to follow that path all through this nice, beautiful map. And so this will be the first point of contention. This arch, this is where you see a lot of action go down. It's a choke point. The defense are going to be trying to stop the offense from pushing that truck through. I mean, wow, this map is just beautiful, man. Look at that. The ziggurat in the back.
Yeah, pinatas. Were you ever good at hitting a pinata, or were you one of those like funniest home videos end up knocking someone in the knee, kind of?
I might have actually, knocked a few friends over the head with the bat. Let's not think about the pinata days. Those were sad days where hand-eye coordination was definitely lacking. But, that's the thing, you don't have eyes. So
speaking of hand-eye, yeah. You're going to see Widows up here with that hand-eye coordination is going to be so important if the second point even comes into play. And then the map starts to close off a little bit when you get into this third point, and you're going to see a lot more kind of death volley strategies, maybe some Reapers come into the mix, and Genji's still a factor.
Yeah, looking forward to the Reaper. I'm a big fan of Reaper. Always love it. Hellfire shotguns, I mean, it just sounds sick. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're edgy. I get it.
Yeah. I wear dark makeup. My room is painted black. Nah. Getting into it now, we have both teams set up, guys. The countdown has begun to start the action here. 15 seconds left, and already Florida Mayhem. We can see a bit of a change in strategy here. We got Zupe rocking the Ana. We don't really get to see her too often these days.
Yeah, it's very interesting because most teams are going to run a Zenyatta. Maybe it's a first point kind of thing. You get that distance healing going on because look where they're set up here.
Yeah, they're looking to actually take the fight to him fairly early on. The high ground advantage here is what Florida Mayhem are looking to take advantage of with both tanks, Manatee and Swoosh. Get that buddy system going. They're going to try and rain down destruction on London Spitfire as they push forward with the payload. But here it is, Birdring barely misses that shot. Tvik already under pressure.
Playing a little bit with fire there, Tvik forced to recall out of that situation. He's not really getting a whole lot done. Has to blink towards his team, so they've already swept the rooftop clear of Mayhem players.
And this is exactly what they have to worry about. Now that he can get around this angle, Birdring, he can start raining fire in, and you got to be careful with the headshots. That's a one-shot, one-kill situation in Birdring. Right now, he's kind of wondering what he needs to do to change things up. He doesn't have too much of the ult. It looks like he's trying to just change up the angle, and no, he will go for the swap.
Yeah, he's going to switch off of that Widow. No need for it anymore. A lot of the Widow on offense on this map is for counterplaying. A defensive Widow, they see that's not an issue. A boost comes out early on a Winston.
Yeah, that was a very quick boost. Some great pressure being put down here from Florida Mayhem. I love getting that boost on the Winston. You get that cleave damage with the Tesla cannon. You start roasting people left and right. But Birdring now, looking to get in on the action. He knows that Tvik is in the backline trying to be a threat. And Tvik has that pulse bomb, so we'll see when he decides to use it.
This is an interesting place on the arch. It's a game of chicken. If they're going to drop down first, or you can force them onto the stairs. But here comes the blade out of Profit. Does find one right away.
Yeah, there we go. Getting some of the impact, gets the reflex as well. That's going to put a stop to that. No messing around from him, changing up the angle, and Profit very mobile on the Genji. He's going to be darting left and right, as we can already see, putting the pressure on, and Dosen is going to be the one picking up the kill on Zupe, but Profit definitely had a hand in it.
Yeah, Zupe out of the mix. They're actually going to transcend as well. Zebo's going to get in there and bring Zupe back to life as a transcend because you push. A really good job of the Mayhem tanks making life miserable trying to push through this archway.
Yeah, this arch choke point really playing in from Florida Mayhem. I mean, Birdring trying to have a little bit of an impact here on the side. But Swoosh, he's got the Primal Rage. You can buy even more time with that as a delaying tactic. We're about to tick over 2 minutes here. And so the pressure is going to start ramping up on London Spitfire. They need to start making some progress.
Yeah, they used a lot of ultimates to try to get through this archway, and they just did not find it. Profit nearing another blade was the earliest they had, but here, this is a great counter to those blades and those flanking DPS players.
Yeah, I mean, now he is taking less damage than he's boosted. He's going to jump right on up, and there we go! Fist to the face, Dosen is gone. And the Primal Rage will serve to just keep pushing London Spitfire back. He knocks him back with every swing.
Swoosh is such an extraordinary player, too. He's played every single role, has transitioned into this main tank role as well, and his understanding and game sense is serving him very well.
So they need to figure out where Profit is coming from, and immediately Profit getting value. 2 kills for him, going after the squishies. That's exactly what he wants to do, and that's what I'm talking about. London Spitfire, they eviscerate the defense. In the blink of an eye, Profit with those 2 frags really open things up.
That's the push that they're looking for, absolutely. You think maybe you hold on to the nano-boosted Winston because he's such a great counter to the Genji, who's unable to deflect that damage for him. However, they saw their window there. London Spitfire now also have a Valkyrie ultimate in their pocket too if they want to press the issue, but it seems like they want to push very patiently. It's been a bit slow going.
They're not looking to try and crash into the defense too quickly here. It seems like they're kind of assuming what's going to be coming at them because Profit has given up that high ground. Going to go for a little bit of a peek again, it looks like. Just hoping to find the angle. And they will have, I mean, Zebasai is going to have his Valk very quickly here. Nuss decides to go for his very early on though, so this may favor Florida.
A very well-coordinated dive there has actually put a wrench into the plans of Mayhem. They wanted to get set up with the Widowmaker up top. They switched to Vic over to that Widow, and they get the aggressive dive. Everyone goes down.
And was keeping an eye on Zebasai there in that fight to see if he would decide to go for the wings or not. He decides to hold on to it for the next fight, having lost a few too many players there out of position.
A very smart restraint there as well, because now they should be able to have the advantage in the next fight. Valkyrie, one of those all-important ultimates, able to resurrect 2 people, you get chain healing. It's a fight-defining ultimate, and now that London Spitfire has used theirs, the Mayhem will answer in kind.
Yeah, I'm liking the style here from Birdring. It seems like he has freedom to just kind of set up his own game plan, set up the flanks. So we'll see when he decides to get into the fight. We got a visor getting used already by Logix, hoping to force them back, and he will! Just hamstrings him from behind. There's the reflex from Profit. Finally puts an end to it, but the damage is done.
Yeah, that's the fight that they were definitely going to win because they had that huge ultimate advantage, and these teams are so good at tracking when the other team is ready. So Spitfire might have gone into that knowing that they were going to get wrecked, and what you really want to have happen is force them to use that ultimate. You don't want to throw away a fight and not force out ultimates from the other side of things.
Yeah, looking to see where Logix decides to set this up. Sure enough, on that high ground, he can drop right down behind him. Perfect replay and execution here from him. And Profit, well, I mean, he gets the reflect in the end, but like I said, the damage is already done, and Florida are doing a good job of stalling things out. We've ticked past the minute mark again, or the 2-minute mark.
It's such a smart response to a self-destruct from a D.Va. She gets out of that mech form and she becomes much more vulnerable. Here comes a blade from Profit.
Profit setting it up. He's already had a pretty big impact with the last one that he was able to get out there. And this time, however, he is forced back. Swoosh instantly going for the Primal Rage. He's got so much HP when he's pissed off. Not gonna help him in the end, though. He does get clipped.
No, I mean, anger doesn't solve all your problems. I think
Really?
we've learned that. I mean, it can start sometimes.
Have you played matchmaking before?
Yes, sir, I have. They are going to get in here. They've gotten a couple of kills early on, and now that the Primal Rage Winston was out of position, they finished that one off as well. Getting some good damage in here, but here comes Tavek. He's able to take down Fury in both forms.
Yeah, with the back line, exactly. He's finding those sight lines, allowing him to get picks. They have to go out in the open here, London Spitfire, and they're really relying on either the D.Va or the Winston to get the shields down to try and create some space to cut him off. And it looks like it's just going to be the straight dive all the way up onto the top, trying to put the pressure on. Birdring looking for a target right now, and he's going to farm quite a bit of energy off of this D.Va. He's just flying up to that pulse bomb as quick as can be.
Well, he's finally able to take out Vic, so at least they don't have to worry about the sniper presence on the map, as Fury does get himself a couple of kills. It forces Zebo to burn out this Valkyrie. This needs to be a fight Florida wins, otherwise these ults are for naught.
Now, well, like, whoa, is he going to make it? Birdring, so close with the blink. He's able to get around the corner just in time. And he's already used his pulse bomb. Doesn't matter. He's already up to 37% again. No problem. He'll farm them so quickly. That's what I really like to see in Tracer players. You know, don't hold on to the pulse bomb too long. Just use it instantly and just start farming the next one and hope to get a kill.
Every second you're holding is the second you're not building it. It's why you see them toss it out just like that. And all of the support ults have been used on both sides of things. Spitfire's last best hope is Profit using another blade.
This is it, and he's got to deliver now because there is hardly any time left on the clock. They need to be touching that payload, and nobody is on it. Profit, too focused on the frags. And somehow Florida Mayhem, they have not even allowed London Spitfire to pick up the second point here on Dorado.
Those Dragon Blades are so critical to get that first kill because he dashed in, misses that kill. What happens when you get a kill with Genji in the blade, your dash gets reset and you can go after it again. You saw him looking almost flabbergasted, like, what do I do now? He just sat in the corner, off the cart, and that is going to be a non-second point completion for London. A little bit surprising.
Yeah, a little bit of a stumble here at first from London. But, I mean, the question is whether it is, I mean, this is a 4-map series, keep in mind. And we saw this yesterday as well. Seoul, you know, they kind of looked a little shaky versus Dallas to start things off on the first map. And then obviously, you know, the map took up from there. It looked like they went into overdrive. So we'll see. London, they seem to be the favorites in this matchup, but right now, Florida Mayhem are putting up a good fight.
Yeah, I really liked what Mayhem did as far as adjusting from first point to second point. I think it's always a mark of a good team that you're ready to make the transition, that those calls are in place, you know that this is what we want to run on second. You saw Tavik switch over, you saw Logix go onto the 76, and once they were entrenched in that defensive position, they did good. Also, the tanks just created a lot of space. Tanks often get overlooked, but Swoosh was a constant source of menace in the back line.
You've been hearing it more and more from the players, podcast interviews, you know, a lot of the focus is on the tanks these days. A lot of them say, well, DPS, they are getting a little overshadowed by the support roster, by the tank roster, and the space that those two managed to create around them. But we'll see. Swoosh, you got him now.
Well, Swoosh is in a unique position as he used to be a DPS, and I think that can really help you out of knowing where they want to go, what you want to do. He understands that mindset.
No, that's solid. I mean, what do you think about the defense? Well, we'll be getting into the map momentarily here. Obviously, we're going to get that crowd shot. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. So happy to have you here. But this is going to be the second half of our first map. So now we have the team swapping over. London Spitfire are on the defense, Florida on the offense. They're going to be the ones trying to push forward the cart. We'll see if they're better at it than Spitfire.
It's a really aggressive defense. Everyone is up on that one rooftop. They're going to run a Junkrat on this. It's going to create all sorts of chaos, and Widow will thrive on cleaning up that chaos as people jump into sightlines.
Exactly. Rain down the grenades onto the cart. Swoosh already forced to use his barrier as well. That's not going to help things here. They have to be a little bit worried now about the Widow, but Tvik is in action as well. He's hunting right now, and he will find a shot, just farming up some energy. Not going to do too much damage versus that Winston unless he gets a headshot, but that's the key frag that he needed to hit, and he doesn't get it. Birdring survives.
Just lives by the millimeters, not actually finishing that fight right there. This could be interesting. Tvik is going for this enormous flank on the right-hand side with a grapple hook, try to get himself behind the opponent team as the Widowmaker.
Oh, no, he's so close.
They finished him.
They do get it. Logix gets it, and that's the mercy kill down. No res is possible here. That's a key frag picked up for Florida Mayhem, and they are making great progress now. It's something like London Spitfire. They don't want to have anything to do with this. Without their blonde healer, it's not happening.
Yeah, they absolutely is. She tried to fly to safety, but she only found the loving arms of Logix right there. Unfortunately, he plays for the Mayhem, able to finish that off. And you lose a Mercy early on in a fight like that, that fight is essentially over. Florida has to know they have a little bit of an advantage now because their healer's been alive longer, so the ultimate advantage in favor of Zebosai rather than Nuss.
Yes, exactly. More energy gain. So Zebosai will have the wings for this next fight if he wants it. Manitin is getting very close to the self-destruct as well. And there we go. We have the wall hacks coming in. Tvik. Now they can see through walls. This is a good advantage here for Florida Mayhem, and especially for Tvik to try and predict those shots. And so London Spitfire, they definitely know what's going on here. They have to know. We have to be careful about our sightlines here and not give Tvik a shot.
And this becomes another game of chicken. Do you want to even attempt to take away the high ground or just force the defending team to drop down and deal with you? Otherwise, you just take all this free progress on the cart. That is a huge rip tire that happened off screen there. Takes down Zebo, takes down Tavik. That is a lost fight for the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're going to get a replay of that action. It would be good to get a couple of frags in. Nuss now has his Valkyrie, though. We have 3 ultimates, but both teams seem to be fairly even now on the ults. And yeah, sure enough. Thank you to our observing crew. You guys are amazing. We're going to get the Riptire here in all its glory. They did spot it quick enough.
Yeah.
They did spot it, tried to drop it, but unfortunately, D.Va, you know, you've got shotguns.
Just not enough DPS right there from D.Va right there, and trying to get in, trying to destroy that tire before it can go off, but that's a full reset. A nice ultimate on the side for Prophet.
Yeah, and now Prophet swapped off the Junkrat. He wants to get it on the Tracer, and we'll see if he can duel it up versus Logix on the other side. Manitin looking to buy a bit of time there, but Prophet, he is doing work right now. 2 kills for him. That forces wings out of Zebosai, the 2 reses, but now there are no longer any reses here for Florida Mayhem. It is all out.
I do believe Spitfire has also used their own Valkyrie. They got 1 res off, but then they lost Nuss, so his wings are clipped. Still the brawl going back and forth. This one has been undecided as of yet, but it does seem a lot of yellow in that kill feed. I mean, Mayhem are gonna keep pushing.
You have to wonder, man, we're London Spitfire, underestimating Mayhem just a little bit. There hasn't been a whole lot of confidence in the Mayhem roster because they don't have many subs. Feels like they may lack in versatility. What we're seeing right now, I mean, Florida was just like, hold on, come here real quick. And just a nice crisp slap, wake them up.
I've yet to meet a team or analyst who's overestimating Florida, so you'd have to think that London gets that vibe as well.
Oh, sick. The post bump doesn't take the kill, but still Jester manages with the plays, manages to follow up. Takes advantage of the damage dealt and picks up 2 kills for himself. And right now things are looking a bit hairy here for London Spitfire. They are on top of it, Florida Mayhem. There's the play from Nuts, trying to keep it alive just a little bit longer, trying to buy time, but it's not meant to be. And Florida Mayhem will be picking up the first map.
All right, a little unexpected. Some predictions have already gone down in flames, and good for Mayhem. That might be the confidence that they need going forward.
Absolutely. Not looking too excited right now. They know they've got 3 more maps ahead of them. They got the work cut out for them as well. But that was putting London Spitfire on notice. That was saying you can't underestimate us. You have to take us seriously. Otherwise, we will take your throat. And so now we have a 1-0 lead for Florida Mayhem going into this. 3 more maps coming up, everybody. We always play 4 maps here in a match. And we'll be throwing a commercial break. Right now, when we come back, we will have map 2 between Florida Mayhem and the London Spitfire.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel. Arguably the #1 ranked team, it's the London Spitfire. The top 2 Korean teams basically put together on one super team.
같이 경쟁도 어느 정도 있다고 생각하고 서로 각자 알아서 잘할 거기 때문에 서로 이제 도움을 주고 많이 이끌어준다기보다는 각자 잘해서 정상에서 만나고 막 이런 식으로.
This team has so many good players. It's just a matter of how do they make it work.
아무래도 다 똑같은 생각을 하고 있을 것 같은데 우승이 아마 팀 목표가 되지 않을까 생각돼요.
That was a masterclass from the Spitfire.
이번 시즌 팀 목표는 당연히 뭐 시즌 우승, 초대 우승이 되는 거고요.
London Spitfire, nearly unstoppable.
I like it. From Fisher at the end there. Those are some spicy words. You're not saying that you want to win it all. I mean, that is kind of what you are here to do.
That is kind of the general idea
Right.
of things, but
But-
their first flight has been grounded by the Mayhem.
Exactly. Oh,
I
beautiful.
stole it?
You're
Sorry.
no, but I mean, that's exactly what's on. I mean, this is still, you need to win the most maps out of the 4 that you're going
Right.
to play. So they can still win, but they've not got the best start here so far. They're down 0-1 in this series.
Yeah, I think everyone's a little bit surprised, and almost even more surprising, no substitutions are going to come in from either team. Not necessarily surprised from the Mayhem. Their 6
Exactly,
guys are
right.
out there, but a full roster with 12 players on it. No subs are going to come in for our next map, which is Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, the assault map, and so 2 control points that they'll be battling over. One of them we usually see get taken up pretty quickly, but it's usually the the all-out chaotic sort of battle on the second. That's the big question, though. There was a lot of emphasis put on London Spitfire having these 12 players to pull from. Are you just going to keep your opponents guessing? The desk was wondering, and I guess we have our answer. There's like, actually, no, we are just going to field these 6 and see how it works.
The interesting thing about the DPS that they have is that their DPS are all very good at everything, but maybe they're not specializing enough. Who's going to be just your pure tracer? I thought it was going to be Prophet. They actually did not play Prophet on the tracer the entire first map. Who's going to be your pure Widow? Maybe they do need to start specializing a little more.
I'm loving it, man, because in Overwatch League, that's what's so beautiful about this. So many new things for us to learn from. You know that these coaches, these players, it's the same thing for them. They're scrambling. They're trying to figure out what's the most effective way to use their players.
Yeah.
In fact, we have subs. I mean, that's an awesome thing that a lot of us are going to get to enjoy watching develop.
Absolutely. Well, here you see point A. Yesterday, no one really decided to play a whole lot of defense on Anubis. We had a very high-scoring Anubis map, at least in our third set. We'll see if there's some new defensive strategies. A lot of different strats came out on first point. We saw some Orisa, May getting her the ice wall to get up to top point, and you can really run a whole lot of different things. I think London might actually end up going for Widowmaker here, but we'll see when their offense comes out.
We saw a lot of fixed point defense. What I mean by that is, yesterday we saw a lot of, okay, Orisa throws down a shield, then the Widow stands behind the shield, she is protected, and you have to try and run at her to get rid of it. And yet here, Florida Mayhem, they're starting out on defense as the home team. What do we make of this setup? I don't see any barriers here to keep Vic safe.
It looks like it's a little bit of version of a dive. Actually, they're running a triple DPS here, too. It's just the tanks are set up in that dive position where they're going to allow them to come in for a little bit, and then it's up to the tanks to initiate onto the offense and throw some chaos into their lines.
Yeah, Logix certainly performed well on the first map in this series, and so I hope to see that continue. Always a big fan of Tracer play myself. But, Zebasai and Vic, they're going to have to get some kills if this is going to work out for Florida Mayhem. A little bit of pressure on them. London Spitfire seems very divey on their side.
A lot of pressure on Zupe here. He is the only healer for this Florida Mayhem team. If he goes down early, their chances of winning the fight become almost non-existent.
Now, with all the healing he'll do, though, look at this. He's just climbing so quickly with the energy. He will have that Valk so fast if he can stay alive a little bit longer here. He's up to 50% already. That is insane. And already, Florida Mayhem, they've traded 1 for 1, but as I said, I cursed him.
You did. Cast their curse in full effect as their only source of healing now for the Mayhem out of the fight. It is now just a matter of time as you see the Zenyatta from the high ground. He might as well be in a Zen-like state, just meditating up there, throwing out the orbs. They will clean up first point.
Yeah, nobody wants those orbs. Zen, you can keep those orbs. If you're on Florida Mayhem, you send them back. And now already, okay, here we have it. Change in strategy. Florida Mayhem, they're not going to put up a fight for the first point, rather. They're going to give it up, focus on that second point, and I'm glad we're going to see the replay here from Birdring because he certainly was doing damage. He had free reign.
Yeah, no one's even contesting him right there. And then when Prophet takes down Tavik, then Birdring doesn't even have to worry about getting counter-sniped on the other end of things. You saw Mayhem has now switched it up to a Sombra. They have to hold this fight or that switch means nothing. The Sombra needs a little bit of time to be able to charge up an EMP, which deactivates everyone's abilities.
Well, they need to focus. Nuss is going to get his Valk faster, although here we go. The Dragon Blade, slice and dice, 2 kills already for London, and this is looking fantastic. Zupe, he hasn't even got Valk. He's still at 85%. This is unreal.
He's been dead. If they can get out here and stall, then perhaps he can get Valk onto this point, but they're just going to go and try to shut the doors right away. The only hope is for this Winston to buy a little bit of time. The stall needs to come out so Zupe can get Valk. He's at it now.
He's got it now, and so we'll see if he's going to be able to get a couple of reses, and maybe Florida Mayhem can save things here. There's the one going out onto Vic, trying to keep him alive a little bit longer, and the focus needs to come in. Prophet hunting for targets right now. Will collapse on Swoosh in just a moment here, sure enough.
I think they're going to hold this. They were able to get the Valk out, the stall came out, and then on top of that, Zebo was able to work up on that Sombra EMP. No one's able to use their abilities. They get a couple more kills, and when you start seeing a little bit of that defense in the kill feed, it's very difficult for the Spitfire to pull that off, and they have deflected the attack.
Florida may have a chance to breathe here, but look at how close it was.
Yeah, it's tough.
There isn't a whole lot of room for error here for Florida Mayhem. Now, you did notice one of the reasons why you're running Sombra on this point. You saw Prophet, he's like, maybe I can get the health. No, Sombra, she's like, actually, bro, that's my health pack. You're not allowed to have it.
Taking that health away. Now, we've seen a lot of teams be very aggressive out here. One of the good things Sombra can do is get out here and at least pressure, slow them down, see what the other team is running, and then just translocate out, teleport back to safety. But London knows right now they have a window where they can fight into a team without an EMP, without a Valkyrie. They might just want to take this. Looking for the Blossom as Bird Ring.
Yeah, looking for that high ground, hoping to find some squishies that he can blow up, that he can shred. Will drop to the low now, but he is going to work. Throw shot in the back. Those shotguns doing tremendous damage. And there it is, pulling the trigger. Bird Ring not hesitating. Does manage to pick up one kill before Logix catches them, but that is going to be it. London Spitfire the entire time. The fighting is happening in those hallways there, off on the side. They're sitting on the point. They're getting the job done, Hex.
It's one of the few times where you see Reaper generally in the mix on this last point of Anubis, especially teams trying to come out. You have to go through the Reaper, but also because a lot of teams want to run the Sombra on the defense. And one of the best heroes against not being able to use your abilities is Reaper. You talked about why you like him. He's just got shotguns. He just walks forwards. Yeah, shooty shotguns. That's actually what I call him.
Shooty?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it makes sense, right? It's just like Hellfire cannons. How
it's so cool.
No. Okay, I'm down. I mean, look at what we saw there. All he had to do was just drop those high HP targets down as quickly as possible. Doesn't really matter if he picks up the swishies, because if you don't have swoosh alive to buy time and leap all over the point, things are going to look a little grim for Florida. So we saw a lot of this yesterday where, offense was just on point here on Anubis. Seems like it's the same thing for London Spitfire. Now we're going to switch sides. It's going to be Florida Mayhem going on the offense. And so kind of curious to see what they have in store for us here.
Yeah, we'll see if a team just finds a defensive strategy. Look, A is a point that you're going to give up a lot of times. Just how the maps are designed. A is not a defender's advantage. But it's been surprising the last couple days how little defense we've seen on P, mostly. And this is a really cool strategy. They're going to use the Mei to come out here, build the ice wall so that Gesture can get his Orisa up top there, and then they might put a sniper behind this as well.
Yeah, this is what we saw from Seoul yesterday.
Yeah.
Where, they would have that, they would have it. I mean, yes, it was Seoul yesterday that we're running this strategy where they would actually have the Orisa shield there. You'd have the Widow right behind the shield. She gets the full line of sight on the archway into the point. I mean, this is a tough position to deal with. So kind of curious to see, once Florida Mayhem figure out what they're going up against here, how they're going to react.
The way to deal with it is to dive on top of it with both of your tanks, but that might not be enough. Sometimes you have to also throw in a Genji who can go with the tanks and get that dash through on the team to get those killing blows and get that damage that you need. So we'll see if the Mayhem adjust to this once they sniff it out.
Yeah, Vic right now looking on the Widow, but as soon as he figures out that his opponent Birdring is standing behind a shield, he's going to be feeling a little grim, a little sad about the situation.
Yeah, it's fine. You can also take this rotation here, and you're staying out of sight lines the entire time. Sometimes you will jump all the way up and swoosh as a warning, fired over the bow.
You think you're out of sight lines, and then Birdring's one step ahead, putting a bullet into you immediately. And now that angle is covered. This is going to be difficult here. There's no barrier to protect Birdring, but he doesn't really need it. They can't even really peek. It's just going to be the run and gun dash here from Florida Mayhem. They're waiting for the go sign, and there it is. I like that Swoosh is turning away from Birdring, trying to avoid that headshot, trying to close off that angle. And Logix now putting pressure on the back line.
He's putting pressure on the back line, but these supports know each other very well. They know where they're going to be, and Dosen gives Logix a warning shot right to the dome. They knock down both of the DPS. Mayhem are going to have to retreat.
Yeah, more time bought. I mean, London Spitfire were remarkably quick picking up the first point. They nearly took the 2 points in like 3 minutes time.
But Florida has moved into the correct composition, I believe, to deal with this static. They've added in a Genji instead of a Widowmaker. You need that damage up top if you're going to try to dislodge. It's just a matter of waiting for your timing, waiting for the correct angle. And I like this from Tavik. He's going to go from the other side, try to distract them a little bit, and I think the tanks are going to come around front.
And in the meantime, you have Logix flanking on the right side. Same kind of point of entry that he was looking for last time around. But here we go. Tavik right on top of him, dashes in, and that doesn't quite do the damage that he was looking for. And so now it looks like London Spitfire, they're keeping their backline alive. So long as they can do that, they will have the healing to see them through, and especially if you got Prophet shredding people left and right.
Yeah, this defensive setup giving the Mayhem a lot of trouble here right now. They're going to come online with a couple of their ultimates, but this is Birdring. I think he crushes Logics here in this fight. He knows where he is. One too many peeks and punished.
Okay then.
Yeah, that's my response when I get sniped as Tracer. Okay.
Yeah, you kind of
okay.
slam your dash. It's like, well, then I guess I'm down for the count. Great, nice shot. Well, Prophet, this is just going to get a little bit more grim here for Florida because you're dealing with the Dragon Blade on the Genji here.
The support
Prophet
ultimates
hitting the shots.
both up for Mayhem, but it's going to be a matter of who can take down the opponent's Mercy, because both Valks should come out here. They do just that.
Great positioning coming in here from Prophet, making sure that he stacks up to make the healing easier for his back line. And Prophet, another kill, and there we go! 2 for him! And in the meantime, his teammates doing work as well. But like you said, the Valks are in play. We have those reses coming through, and now it's Tavik who's going to chop Birdring in half.
Zube comes in, he resurrects 2. Nuss has also gotten both of his resurrects in, so a lot of those damaged heroes all brought back to life. Mayhem with a small advantage as Jester's been out of this fight for a bit.
Dude, Nuss right now, he is a hero. Keeping his teammates alive for so long. It doesn't look like it's quite going to be enough, though. Fury trying to buy a little bit more time, not going to have the self-destructs to really push that delay tactic. He's going to be out of there fairly quickly, and it does look like Florida Mayhem. They found a way. They found a way. Through all that chaos, they will cap the first point.
Yeah, but that's still a very good defense for the London Spitfire. In all relative nature, most teams have been struggling to put up any sort of resistance on A, and even that last couple seconds that Fury buys, it allows the Spitfire time to breathe, get set up, and get the heroes that they want for their defense.
So I'm curious to see if we're going to have a change in strategy coming in here from London Spitfire. We saw that from Florida, right, where they tried to get fancy with the Sombra, but it's not looking like London want to have anything to do with that just yet. Prophet has almost got another Dragon Blade, which is insane. He's just farming those at this point.
Oh, they've transcended in, so everyone's going to follow up on this attack to try to stay in Zen's healing. Birdring will take down Zebo once that Transcendence is gone, but they've now exchanged healers.
Yeah, Logics, he goes for the pulse, and that is going to force them to stay quick on their feet. But right now, they are capping this point. 1 tick gone for Florida Mayhem already before the contest can come in. London just trying to buy time at this point.
Well, they got an enormous kill on Zupe, so that healing is out of the fight, and now that you start seeing 2 and 3 kills come, that means that the retreat is in full effect. Of note, though, they got enough progress that it's not going to revert entirely. They have 33%. That 33% is going to stick on the board.
Exactly right. Now we're kind of even here, at least as far as ults are concerned. Besides swapping over to the Lucio. What do you make of that decision?
Lucio can be good here because you want barrier and also just to speed in. If you're going to do the attack like they did last time with Transcend and just walk right up Broad Street with it, Lucio's even better at that because you get the barrier, which gives you more health, and you also get the advantage of the speed.
Yeah, he's letting them know as well. Right now he's got the healing aura out, but he's going to swap over to the speed, and we're going to see them try and speed things up here and go charging onto the side. Tavik gets the angle. He needs to find this frag, and sure enough, he does in the end. 2 kills, backline dead, and this is looking very promising now for Florida Mayhem. London Spitfire in a tight spot. Tavik is just running amok.
But a swing back from Birdring is going to cause that Valk to come out from Zupe early. If they can stall out just a little bit, the Spitfire are going to have a Valk of their own, and Nuss is going to try to get out of spawn with it.
Yeah, Nuss, and he doesn't waste any time at all. Just goes charging out there, hoping to get some reses up, hoping to buy some time. They need it right now because you just got Blade swinging left and right, and Prophet doing what he does best. Hunts down Zupe, gets the follow-up on Manadin, and it does look like London Spitfire will hold.
That pulse bomb was a huge swing back. It forced out both of those resurrections so that their Valkyrie is going to have the bigger advantage. Spitfire's defense looking strong. However, they had to burn a lot right there.
I really love watching Genzies get reflects.
He somehow got out of a fight with 4 HP, gets a small pack, and then this changes the tide.
That was big. Tavik just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Didn't look like Birdring had any idea that that was going to connect with him. Instead, he was looking to take down the monkey, but now we get it. Rinse and repeat. 2 minutes left on the clock, and Florida Mayhem, they need 1 last tick to keep their hopes alive here on this map. Swoosh. Looking to drive, yeah, exactly. Trying to get the jump, and already actually we have the change coming in. Prophet getting chopped immediately. Great communication coming in here from Florida Mayhem, calling out the focus targets.
They're going to have to res him immediately. That's a non-Valk res, but that is a huge kill from Gesture as Zupe falls from the skies as Mercy. Now Swoosh lands himself in a trap that is not where you want to be as wildlife of any sort. And now the stick comes in. They're going to still try to keep this going, but this might be one of those situations for the Mayhem where you're throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, trading support ultimates as well. The Transcendent's going to wear out fairly soon here, but he is unkillable while the Trans is running. Subdosen doing a great job buying time. And once again, Florida Mayhem, they get so absurdly close to capping the point, they can't get the job done.
It's very easy to fall into that trap on Assault where you think you're winning a fight and you think that it's time to keep throwing some more ultimates in, but it was not in that situation. Once you lose one or two key components, especially your Mercy, not able to resurrect people, it's time to get out and reset. Now they're going to have to try this fight again with just Valk when they could have had Valk and Sound Barrier together.
This is going to be a bit touch and go because exactly, we don't have the Transcendence for London Spitfire, and Nuss is pretty far away from the Valk. Whereas Mayhem, they've got theirs.
That one kill already ends this fight. They have to wait. You can't go in without Tvik on your team right there. You don't want to 5v6 into this. So that very early kill from a very nice Zenyatta shot there slows them down for another 20 seconds. So what could have been 2 final attempts at an offense is going to be down to just 1.
And they're going to be under pressure here, London. I mean, still under pressure. Prophet's doing a great job farming, but that's really what Junkrat does. He's going to have the Riptire. They're trying to focus him down immediately again, but he just goes dashing out in the nick of time. And will he find the space to get the tire out? No! Logix is there to find the kill on him instead.
Zebo went down very early, forced out that very first resurrection of the Valkyrie from Zupe. Now both resurrections out. These next kills for London Spitfire will be on the permanent side of things. Fury goes down. Nuss this time has his own Valkyrie in tow.
And they're buying them more time. The tire gets picked. Tvik there to be the hero to save the day. Prophet hoping that he is going to find a frag here eventually, but him staying alive is so important with the traps and exactly with the concussive mines. But we are in overtime now, Hex, and this is where it gets dicey. Florida Mayhem desperate to make something happen, but you see it in the kill feed. It's nothing but white, and Tvik doing the best that he can. It's just not going to be good enough. Overtime takes out, and it's a 2-1 win for the Spitfire, tying it up 1-1.
Finally saw some defense. A very nice first defense on A leads to a little more time to hold on to B. And I think what the Spitfire did, they switch it up a lot. I mean, just out of nowhere. Now you've got a Junkrat you have to deal with. You don't know if they're going to stick on that or go back to the Tracer. Some really good switch-ups from the Spitfire. I think that first point hold was exceptional. It frustrated the other team. And then the Mayhem just kept losing people way too early. Losing Zebo early, losing Tvik early in those last final pushes. It's just kind of a mark of a little bit sloppy play.
It's forcing your Mercy rather. Zupe, you know, trying to make something happen. But guys, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll hand it over to the desk and hear what they have to say about the first 2 maps in this series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am now joined down here at the floor by no other than Jeff Kaplan from the Overwatch team. Jeff, thanks a lot for dropping by, saying hi, and spend a few minutes with me here in front of this amazing crowd. Now, Jeff, how you've been enjoying the Overwatch League so far?
This is the most amazing experience ever. I mean, the game is awesome. These fans are awesome. We love you too. And oh my God, this arena, it's just so fantastic. I love watching the game this way.
So this is the first time you actually get to see the arena in person, is that correct?
That's correct. We really wanted to come yesterday for opening day, but since we had just patched on Tuesday, we thought if everything went wrong and we broke the game, we should all be back at Blizzard. So we're here today, and we're so excited.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being so responsible. You missed out on a great opening day, but day two looks just as awesome, really. Now, I actually saw you up in the stands, and you brought some people as well, right?
Yes. So whenever I do a developer update, I always introduce myself as Jeff from the Overwatch team. And the most important part about that phrase is the Overwatch team. And the entire Overwatch team, the men and women who made the game, are all here today in the audience.
Right. Give it up for the Overwatch team. We love your game. Simple as that. Jeff, thanks so much for coming here and chatting with me. And of course, have fun for the rest of the day. We still have a lot of games to go. And we're going to actually break down that first 2 maps on the desk. Guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And I want to start off by giving a very special shout out to all of the people that worked on the spectator tools here for the Overwatch broadcast, and especially this new replay tool. We are able to go in and find the best clips from the best moments of every game. And we got to start here with game number 1 between Florida Mayhem going up against the Spitfire. It was a bit of a surprising result. Florida coming out strong, and Crumbs, you picked out a play from early in the game. What are we about to look at?
So right now we're going to be highlighting the offense from the Florida Mayhem on the first point. So right now the Spitfire does not know where Tvik is, and we know this guy from positioning, and he's right here. Spitfire, no clue where he's at, so they have to respect the line of sight. Look at how they're positioned, but at the same time the Mayhem take advantage of this, and we're going to see Logix go for a flank, and at the same time, Tvik comes in, and the guy that they're going to be going for is the Mercy. It's a Mercy meta, you got to go for her, and let's see what happens. So he waits for the grapple hook. As soon as everybody's in position, he goes for it. All eyes on Mercy.
As soon as he gets that pick, it's basically over, and Florida continues to roll. Let's talk big picture, Bren. What was going right for Florida Mayhem? How were they able to continue that roll?
So we mentioned at the start as well about Logix being one of his key players in this tournament, and he definitely was. I mean, we've got clips of his highlights that we can show you as well while all this is going on, and you can see numerous times. This is an especially brilliant play because it's these individual mechanically skilled plays. He used the ultimate to get up a double kill and get a good defense, but not only that, I mean, that just really just is, he's one piece of the puzzle for Florida in this first map, but his stats were absolutely incredible as well. He had an amazing amount of team damage done, 31%, which is actually really quite a lot for just 1 DPS on the team, and he turned up multiple times with the rest of his team. It was actually Maniton who was second to him as well, working well with the Diva on that role to really win out that first map.
We've seen Logix on the Widow in the past. We saw a little bit of him on the Soldier, but mostly we see him on the Tracer. On the flip side, Prophet and Birdring have been switching on and off that same hero. So who would you like to see playing Tracer moving forward for the one in Spitfire?
I think for the Spitfire, it's fine to keep Prophet on the Tracer. You have Birdring doing the Widowmaker when it's necessary, but they were just mix and matching a little bit too much. I think that they still have the growing pains of having that 12-man lineup and deciding who's going to be actually playing on that. So I think the lineup is still fine. It's just a matter of the execution in-game that's still rough.
Bren, after the first map, I asked you, did London mix up the 2 lineups too early? Are they trying too hard to force this hybrid? We saw him bounce back really strong on Anubis.
Yes, so I was mistaken. I believed that it was a little bit too soon, but that wasn't the case at all. London in the second game was almost like an entirely different beast altogether. Birdring in particular, I want to highlight his Widowmaker play was really the star, to be honest. They worked around him beautifully. They were using the Orisa high ground strategy that we saw on Anubis that Seoul Dynasty actually pulled out the other day, and it was that plays. Florida just didn't really know how to work around bird ring sightline.
Well, I actually think for the second point as well, the fact that the map of Anubis is so difficult to a lot of times go on the supports played a lot to the London Spitfire. They were not able to, or rather the Mayhem was not able to go on the supports nearly as effectively as it was on the payload map. So with that map to their advantage, I think that the practice of specific players to each map is really paying off for this team.
Guys, are we going to a game 5? Both of you said it would be the Spitfire walking away with the win. Do they do it in 4 or 5?
I don't see it happening at all. I think it's going to be a 3-1.
Actually, do think it's going to go to 5. Next map is Control. That is exactly where you want to be taking your supports out of the mix, and I think that the Spitfire have not been doing a good job of
I was expecting at least one Florida Mayhem fan to make noise after Crumb just picked him to go to game 5. That's going to do it for the halftime show. We're going to a quick break. When we return, we got games 3 and 4. Don't go anywhere. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
Welcome back, everybody, from the break. This is it. We have got a match on our hands. Hex, it's tied up 1-1 in maps. We have another 2 coming up. And do you agree with the desk? Do you think it's going the distance? We're going to 5, or are we going to be hanging around on the 4 maps here? Do you think Spitfire are going to be able to close them down?
I'm just going to waffle on that.
I
think it's very reasonable that Control is one of those maps where it's really hard to predict. You know, it's one of the teams you could, if you feel that a team outclasses you a little bit, then you just take them to Control and you hope that you can just mechanically beat them down. Look, mechanically you would think that the Spitfire were going to be a stronger team overall, but what we've seen from Tvik and Logix is they're on fire today. They needed to have their best games, and they are.
They're looking fantastic. And well, you know, when it comes to subs, We all know Mayhem, they have no subs. It's a 6-man roster. London Spitfire, they've got 12, but they've decided to stay with this core 6, with the same 6 that have played the first 2 maps. So, I mean, do you agree with the decision? What do you think about that?
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out through the rest of the season. We were just thinking that maybe that this team, this roster they put together are trained for these 4 maps. Maybe we'll see a completely different roster. And also maybe you don't want to swap out too many people. Just let's get a feel for it first. I mean, it is the first game of the season overall.
Yeah, exactly. There are many more games to come, and so we'll see how they decide. If there's going to be a trend, I mean, if there is going to be a way to read what London Spitfire are coming up with, if they're going to get these subs in or if they're going to stick to the rosters. I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch just because this is so new. The fact that we have teams with subs, it's fascinating to see how that's going to develop and how the coaches are going to make use of all of these players. Now, it's the control map. This is where it can get a bit chaotic. We're seeing, things, sometimes teams or players aren't a big fan of control just because it's just like, it can be really chaotic and difficult to predict as far as strategy is concerned.
Yeah, you never really know what a team is going to run, and on this particular control map, we are going to the beautiful Oasis. A lot of times, depending on the stage, you're going to run something entirely different. University plays entirely different than Gardens, and even City Center's got its own quirks. So while we start here on University, I believe, I don't think you're going to see as much Pharah, but I'd be a little surprised if you don't see at least someone toying with Pharah on the next couple stages.
Yeah, we've seen, I mean, hell, we've seen some interesting picks coming out on this map in the preseason with Moira even making an appearance. But here we go, already a bit of a change of strategy.
This is a really cool comp from the Florida Mayhem. The idea is to put down the shield, hook people in, and then delete them. That's exactly what they do. Manatin takes Profit out of the mix. That is a huge first hook.
Oh man, they aren't getting any cap yet because the point isn't open just yet. You can see it at the top of the screen. It's ticking down in 5 seconds. Mayhem will be able to take advantage of that first pick, but by then Profit will be back in the fight. It does help that they do manage to get rid of Bird Ring though.
Bird Ring, yeah, he should have stayed out of that because they could have just come and re-attacked the point. They were unable to do so. Another part of this Mayhem composition is that Orisa can use her halt to pull them dead center. It's almost a guaranteed hook for Manatin.
Yeah, that's such a disgusting combo when you see it, and you love it because the pros, they've got the communication, they've got the practice to make that work. Just want to see that happen in matchmaking one of these days. I swear, cross my fingers, it'll happen one day. But that halt hook combo, it's brutal, and now you've got Tvik laying in with a Junkrat as well. He's more than happy to sit behind the shield and just keep chucking nades out left and right.
This is what's often referred to as the anti-dive composition because you can't really dive out with your tanks because Manatin's going to be there to delete tanks, Tvik is there to delete flankers, and Logic's there as well. The composition has to switch from Spitfire, and they do just that.
Yeah, that's where we're going to start seeing a bit of a shift. They've got a Roadhog. Bird Ring was sitting on McCree for a little bit there, but he decides to change it up. And we've got Gesture on the Reinhardt. This is a big one. Do you agree with the decision to have Reinhardt out here on the control?
Yeah, Rein's Zarya is actually okay. You have to get in there pretty quick, though, because those shields are going to be burned down rather fast with an Orisa and a Junkrat and a Roadhog on the other side. So you have to get in.
There. You're right. You have to get in.
Yeah.
Just not that way, Denton. It's not like that. Nuts has to use his Resurrect immediately, and that's putting a little bit of pressure on here. But you still have Tvik alive. He can still turn it around here, even though the second res comes in. That's Gesture getting brought back up. So you have Reinhardt back in the mix with his barrier, but the Trance getting used. There's a lot of ultimates going down right now. The big thing here is that Logic, he still has the Deadeye to use.
Well, Logic's going to be on his 3rd life now as Zevo has brought him to life twice. They know that Deadeye could be a factor in the coming fight. A huge hook and hog on hog right there as Manatin will fall. Still, all this time, Mayhem has been in control of the points. They're nearing 90%.
Yeah, this is fantastic. They hold again. Mayhem really putting up a fight here, and Logic still has the Deadeye, and so this is really going to put a little bit of pressure here on Gesture. He's going to have to be very sharp about the barrier. Can't drop it, otherwise Logic could potentially take advantage of that.
Their best bet is to get Fury in here and get a Graviton going. There's going to be nothing to really stop it except for shields. The grab does come in. Where's the follow-through? It is right there. London Spitfire take down 3 in quick order.
Yeah, and what's important is they take down the Mercy. No heals, no healing throughput, and they will be able to turn this around in the nick of time. 99% picked up for Florida Mayhem to start things off, and they know now they have some time. They can be patient. All they need is one last percent. They need one good team fight, and you've got the Riptire for Tvik to kind of facilitate that. If you can get them grouped up, boom, you can drop the trap.
It's possible. Florida also might be going for a strategy in which you just continue to fight and hope the other team burns out ultimates. They know they're in a bad position, but as you mentioned, they only need one more fight. The Earth Shatter comes out on the other side of things. That is a one fight in and of itself. So the last 2 fights London has taken, they've used 1 ultimate and gotten full team kills.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's some great ult management coming in from Spitfire. That is a money Earth Shatter. When you can only just invest the 1, that is perfect. Fury's still working on getting that Graviton going for himself, though, but he'll have a little bit of time to make it happen here. We'll get the replay of that, and exactly from Jester's perspective as well. I absolutely love our observers never missing any of the action. And that is a perfect flank. Look at that Earth Shatter. They don't know what hit them. Florida, they were never expecting that.
Flank Shatter comes in. Here comes a tire. It's looking for a little bit more, but Zebo's the one who takes the brunt of that. Meanwhile, Spitfire have used their own Valkyrie, bringing people back to life.
Yeah, holding on to it as best they can. There is a challenge at Florida Mayhem. They might take over. Are they aware of this? Yeah, London managed to get back on the point just in the nick of time. Fury dancing on the edge and just zapping people left and right. All the kills for Fury. He is greedy right now.
They have measured out their ultimate usage so deftly. The London Spitfire, the next fight, they will be able to have Graviton back up. We're back to square one. Grav will be up. If they win that fight, then probably a Shatter up. There's also going to be a Transcend should they so need it. So they've done an excellent job of managing their economy when it comes to ultimate abilities.
Looks like a little bit of a stuttering start there for the Spitfire, but they let the engine, warm up a little bit, right? You got to do that with those older Spitfires. They're not like today's modern jets. But they've got the firepower. The sexy plane in London right now. They are going to work. They are holding. Fury dancing on the side. That's what we saw earlier, but he's got the Graviton locked and loaded and ready, and he is at full charge. The amount of damage this guy could do would be massive, but they're not going to let him. Florida, they hunt him down. And so he doesn't get everything out of that Graviton.
He went for the fadeaway grab because the Diva was right in his face. He did not want to get it gobbled up by her defensive matrix, which would be an end to that fight. Still going back and forth between these two teams. That is a huge tire from Prophet. He has been soloing out that Mercy. They take control back to Florida.
Oh, they keep tapping it to London. This is getting desperate. Manitson just barely manages to get the reback going, and he even dodges the hook. Bertring desperate to hang in there, but it's not going to happen. And this is looking good here for Mayhem. Can they keep things going? Well, Nuss has got the Valk. He is going to be able to res his teammates, and it looks like London Spitfire will be able to take control once again. Swoosh trying to buy time, but it's just not meant to be.
Florida getting desperate, trying to throw as many bodies on the point. They've changed heroes just to get back here. Zebo on the Moira for that instance. And London pulls it back from the brink.
Unbelievable. You can see how happy the players are. That is tense. That's what Control is all about. Down to the wire. And that is awesome to see. So we've got a real match on our hands here, Hex. This is fantastic.
It's a great adjustment from London to recognize that composition early that looked like it was going to be so daunting. The Hog and Orisa. What's great against that is you get a Zarya in the mix. He was at 90% charge. Of course, all the damage you take on your shields gives you more on that weapon. And then when your Reinhardt shield cracks, you just throw him a Zarya shield, and now you're sitting at 90%. You're getting grabs, you're getting shatters, and they've got nothing to stop it.
I love it. We see Prophet there. He's wiping his face. He's like, man, I just can't see through all these tears that keep get him off, get him off. Nah, this guy is sick. Prophet, man. I mean, you really got to give it to Prophet. With those Rip Tires, he was just focusing down that Mercy. That was 2 Rip Tire kills on Mercy that he managed to pick up, and I think that was a big difference maker there for Spitfire. Prophet once again delivering.
Zebo had no chance there. Already some good positioning here from London, taking the high ground away. Florida Mayhem trying the same kind of pick composition. They will take the low ground.
Yeah, now Prophet just kind of dancing around. We're keeping an eye on him right now, and he is going to be the one who's going to be able to poke up here and make sure that Florida can't get too comfortable. That calls Fury in. He's got to be careful about getting Team X, but he does get around the corner just in time, and I'm pretty sure Nuss will be there to heal him back up. Nuss getting very close to Valk, already up to 75%. That is bonkers.
Prophet's got to get out of there. Nuss is going to bring Gesture back up. That is the first blood of this fight so far. It's both teams still posturing, trying to figure out what positions they want to be in, but you don't want to sit around too long and let a pulse bomb come off because that can wreck this static composition.
This is going to make all the difference. Nuss, he was so fast at getting the Valk, but he does get picked. Logics with the Deadeye picks him out of the sky, and now Zebasai is the one with the Valk. He'll be able to bring his teammates back up, and things are going to get dicey. What looks promising for Spitfire has been turned around completely by Florida Mayhem with some excellent play.
One of the reasons you see the resurgence of Widowmaker and to a lesser degree McCree is because they have the burst damage to be able to deal with the Valkyrie ultimate. Especially when you get Deadeye, there's nowhere to run from it. You see Deadeyes in pure response to Valkyries all the time, and it's a great one.
Yeah, oh, wow, and exactly, he hits the timing perfectly. Just as the tanks move off the high ground and try to take the fight on the low, that's all the opening that Logic needs. You can't give him that kind of opportunity.
A great sense from Logic. He knocks that Valkyrie out of the sky, and in turn, Florida gets more value out of their ultimate.
This is sick. Such a close. There we go. Supercharger. The bongos are down. Vix has been caught by Prophet, and already London Spitfire just going to work. They are looking to take control of this point, and they will. Oh, will it? Yes, they will. Just barely, and there it is. Get out. We don't want you here, Manatee.
off into the waters of Oasis. London has taken the point back. Twigs looking for it here.
Those waters look pretty warm, though. I'd actually be pretty fine with that. You're going for a little swim, little dip. Can't feel too bad about that, man. And then he'll get back to work. It's fine. Logix, what's not fine is this guy just can't seem to miss.
He's been ultra impressive today because everyone knows how good his Tracer is. That's where he made his bones, and he's been a great Tracer. But in this situation, he played a good 76 on Dorado, and this McCree is on fire.
Yeah, he is doing massive work right now. A real threat on the high ground. He's got Tvik there to back him up, and they're just going to change up the positioning here. Florida Mayhem ticking steadily higher, up to the 40% now pretty much. And so this is just going to start putting a little bit of pressure here on London Spitfire, and I'm curious to see how they decide to adjust here. We do have that Tracer, but Prophet's been on the Tracer for a while.
He's got the Deadeye ready too, so if Nuss even gets in here to Valkyrie, which Logix seems like he wants to shut down anyway, not going to happen. They are going to resurrect Gesture, but still, now they're going to have to pop it. Beautiful timing, actually. They take out the McCree, then they pop the Valkyrie, knowing that now the Mercy is safe in the sky.
Yeah, some great focus fire there from Spitfire, making sure that Logix couldn't get the value out of his Deadeye, and they are getting shredded right now. Birdring styling on Zupe in the end, and they will get control of the point. But you got to give it the priority. The calls really coming in from Spitfire. Their communication is on point. Logix just didn't have any room to breathe there, despite having a bit of a tough start in the fight, getting hooked in.
It's recognizing the problem. The problem is that Logix is killing everyone. I mean, it's in the most simplistic of terms. So
that's who you're asking, if that's a problem or not. Mayhem might be.
For London, it was a problem. So the answer to that problem is throw everything that you have at the Cowboy up there, please. It seemed to work out for him.
Tvik getting topped back up again. He's going to be looking to get those nades into play, of course. And while we do have the Primal Rage here for Gesture, and it looks like he wants to commit to it, he's going to use it immediately. Zupe there to counter with the Transcendence. Will he be able to find the kill on Zebasai? That would be big. Gesture just doing the best that he can here to stay alive and draw attention to himself.
Trying to combo in the corner, but the Mercy was able to slick her way out of there. Another tire comes in, still back and forth, but right now, London fine to be trading in this situation. They're in control.
He finally has to take matters into his own hands. Turns out tickling some death wasn't working. You had to beat him a little bit too. But it will be Florida Mayhem eventually winning that fight despite Gesture's best efforts at staying alive, at getting the cleave in there, trying to focus the back line. It just wasn't happening. Great positioning from Zebasai meant that he could keep his teammates alive. And now we see a change coming out here from London Spitfire. What do you think about this play, swapping over to Anna on Dosun?
I think it's a little bit interesting. It might be to put some distance pressure on because right now they've been having to dive Logix. They've been having to dive to get to the high ground. But if you can anti-heal up here before your tanks can get up there, they can do a lot more damage.
Oh, sick play. Tvik takes advantage of the trap. Prophet not going to have any say in this fight. We're starting to run a little bit out of time here. You can start hearing it, that audio cue that we're into the last 10% on the point. And Florida Mayhem right now, they are looking very solid indeed. 5% left. They're running out of time. Spitfire, they're going to be able to get in here to touch the point. You do see Gesture right around the corner, but he's already getting lit up by Logix.
They have to get in here, but if they can get their Valkyrie up, Nuss does pop it preemptively, as does Zebo on the other side of things. Logix is going to be looking for that Mercy. He has to back out, but leaves the other support right for the picket.
And there we go. Birdring finally able to take down Logix, but Zebasai is there to get the res, and it's all for naught. Mercy making it happen for a team, although as I say that, London Spitfire, they are getting quite a few kills here. Despite the best efforts of Zebasai, while he's got the wings going, he is not making enough of a difference here, and his team are getting overwhelmed. London Spitfire may be able to turn this at the last second.
Prophet dealt with Swoosh, but it was Birdring up top who deflected a flashbang into the McCree. It bought him the valuable time and life he needed to come back a second time and take down the opposing Mercy. Florida, knowing that there's one last fight in the books and they're not going to have a Valkyrie, will switch Zebo onto the Lucio to get here faster.
Exactly right. You don't want to waste a second here. You need to get on this point and start challenging it. Logix needs to find some openings here as well. He was great on the McCree. Now he's on the Tracer. Already putting quite a bit of pressure here on Mercy, forcing him back. But Nuss, too quick, manages to dodge out of the way. And now it's all about who's going to be coming out ahead on the kills, and Prophet already finding a kill on Maniton. That is going to start things off very strong here for London Spitfire.
Well, but now both their DPS are down, and I don't think there's a resurrection available for either of them, but it's going to be up to the tanks to keep alive. Here comes a Moira Coalescence coming out to keep everyone alive and do some damage to it. Resurrection does come online to bring Prophet into it, and just too many bodies right now for Florida to deal with.
And they will turn it in the end. Unbelievable. London are just too good right now. Never saying die, able to keep it together long enough, and very quick with the roster changes in the end. The Moira, I think that was a fascinating one to try and pull that out at the very bitter end.
great responses from that team overall, and I think switching off of the Zenyatta, which was getting brutalized, into the Ana gave them more distance, and also she was rocking those anti-heal grenades, making everyone's life that much harder, and that opens things up for the tanks to finish off kills.
Exactly right. You have your defense hitting shots as well. It all helps. Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will have the last map in this series. Map 4 London are up 2-1, but we can't have Florida Mayhem tying it up 2-2. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
I'm Swoosh, I play main tank for Florida Mayhem. I'm from Sweden. We live in a small village called Fagersta with only 12,000 people. I've played games since I was 10. It all started with my big brother who used to have LAN parties and I got hooked instantly. I love playing tank because you have to do everything to keep your team alive. Even if it means putting your body in front of your allies, you have to do it.
Swoosh just trying to keep San Francisco Shock bottled up a bit.
My favorite snack right now would be the teriyaki beef jerky. It's absolutely amazing. And I've heard people talk about it before I went to NA. And trying it myself, it's totally amazing. My personal goal for Season 1 is to obviously win the entire league, but I would also love to prove myself as a tank, and I can't wait to prove that every single person wrong who doubt in me.
Yeah, man, the guy loves beef jerky, Hex. How does this man have no faults? You can do no wrong at that point.
I think his snack game is on point. I think we both have beef jerky in our
I actually have beef jerky right here as a snack too. Maybe I'll go back over there, give it to him.
He's got a good mouth
and
feel,
get some brownie
you know?
points going. I think he has some great ink too, man. Swoosh is awesome. It's true though. He does come from middle of nowhere. I'm not going to say what I was actually going to say, but middle of nowhere in Sweden. But that's awesome. I mean, Swedes are just so cool. I've been there for a while, so yeah, take me as an honorary Swede. But already, we actually have no subs, so that's one thing to point out. We are moving into our last map here, but I think, again, we have to just kind of keep going about this because that was a big talking point going into this matchup, seeing, you know, how London Spitfire would make use of having 12 players to constantly sub in and out. They aren't using them. They're just sticking with the core 6 here.
Yeah, they're not really even running anything out of the ordinary or anything kind of mix-up. These are very standard-ish compositions, some small wrinkles here and there, but we'll see what they have planned for Numbani. Of course, in the preseason, Florida only won themselves 2 maps, one of them being Eichenwald, so their hybrid map did work out well for them. We've seen a lot of very strong defenses on Numbani. Numbani, I'd have to say, first point, absolutely defensive favorite. It is a long walk back for the offense.
Yeah, if you get picked, and you're dealing with multiple levels as well. You've got the high ground balconies on both sides where the defense can set up, as well as, I mean, this is why we see some Ana as well. You have that long alley that you can kind of keep out of line of sight and just try and heal her teammates from halfway across the map. I mean, it's a very fun map to watch. I'm always excited about Imadi just because that first point, you can really see some clever strategies come out from the team. And here we've been following the road that the payload. That's why it's called hybrid. You're going to take over a point, but after that, you're going to push a payload to the final points on the map. And so that will be going along the road, as you guys can see. Now we have Florida Mayhem getting into it. What do we make of their defensive lineup here? Is there anything that's kind of catching us off guard here, Hex?
No, it looks very standard for Numbani. Unfortunately, even though we have some Swedes on the team, no Swedish Torbjorn on the map. Sometimes you'll see him on the map, especially on defense. He can set up the turrets, of course. But Florida is going to run these distance-oriented heroes. Of course, Tavik will be on the Soldier 76. Will hold one of the ledges. Ana is often played on this map, even though maybe not on several other maps, because she's got distance healing. It's really about keeping your distance from the other team. Conversely, on the offense, you want to close that distance as soon as possible. You're going to see dive-ish oriented tanks, highly mobile tanks to get up top, being a Diva and a Winston.
What do we make of the fact that they aren't running Lucio? If you really want to get that dive, you really want to get that speed going, are we okay with them having Zenyatta right now as the second heals? I mean, Mercy goes without saying. That's kind of standard at this point, but, you know, the Zenyatta choice.
The damage output is simply too great to leave Zenyatta off of the map there. And yes, Lucio can come into play. He's just fallen just so much out of vogue that people want the Discord, people want the orbs, and also the orb is going to help your flankers. Prophet is going to get heals a lot easier.
Well, Birdring is currently waiting for his teammates to cause chaos over here on the high ground. That's exactly what's going on, but he gets chased back immediately. In the meantime, you have Fury pushing him back over here. Florida Mayhem doing a great job of staying alive, staying around their healers so that those guys can keep them that way. But Birdring not able to achieve anything so far in this first fight.
Well, he's able to take down Logics early in that fight, so at least they know where all their enemies are. There's going to be no one behind them. They know where they're going to be coming from now. So now they can just set up this very strong defensive wall. They will bring Birdring back to life. And this is very difficult for the defense to reinitiate here. There's really no other point of aggress.
Yeah, you go from full HP to demexed and dead in the blink of an eye. Ana trying to even challenge a little bit, and she is not known for having much health to work with. We will eventually have Swoosh getting caught out. In the end, he has in fact given his body for the team. And they will pick up the first point very quickly here. London Spitfire doing fine work.
It's so important that first kill onto Logics, because in this meta with Mercy, you can bring people back to life. It is not if you die, it is where you die. He's in a position where he can't come back, and then they know their backline is safe. And look at this, they're all facing the same direction. It's a shooting gallery.
Yeah, that's exactly what Birdring wants. Hold down mouse one, rain in bullets. That heavy pulse driver just shredding people.
Shrekking is fine.
I was like, shredding? How does that work?
They got Shreked. I think that's accepted nomenclature in the gaming community.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's a classic as well, man. I haven't heard that in a while. But wow, Dosen decides to actually just go for the trance to stay alive. Backs off.
He's going to keep his team alive. Tavik found out in no man's land. They had to burn both support ults, but nice to get the resurrection going. They want to keep going here. Birdring's got his own visor up, trying to clean up the backline. Interesting where this fight is occurring for the Mayhem. They went very aggressive.
They were on top of the point. You even have so much space that Birdring's able to get into the backline again. Nearly finds the kill there on Zupe, who just barely gets around the corner. And he is still here. Are these guys just going to keep ignoring him? And it looks like it. So long as they keep their supports alive, they can just kind of get back to, you know, we'll deal with him later. I penciled you into the schedule, Soldier. You know what? Can't do lunch, but we can do dinner.
Our dance card's a bit filled right now, but we will find a time for you. Absolutely, and they didn't even have to worry about him. He doesn't really have the burst damage to be able to cap anyone down. And now this is where the defense wants to be. They want to be up front here, holding outside of spawn, and this is a self-destruct that really you shouldn't end up dying to there. Prophet apparently all out of blinks, and Mercy unable to get out of there either, but that was a great turning point self-destruct.
I love watching it. Just like this, you gotta really hit your shots. You have to be on point with your aim, your positioning, and then you're dead. And then you're dead. Okay then, never mind. Forget everything I just said. Unfortunately, the positioning wasn't tip-top there.
Well, sometimes you have tunnel vision because you're looking down the scope and you don't see the volley of orbs headed right to your dome, but all for naught anyway as the rest of his team picks up that slack. And the Spitfire will continue to make progress through the streets of Numbani.
Yeah, payload moving forward, getting closer to that second point, and it's not looking like, well, maybe Florida can try and sneak Logics in on the Tracer, somebody to try and delay things just a little bit.
It's a dangerous gambit, though. It looks like they're going to maybe try the Divas coming in. Nope, backs off at the very last second. If you throw all your bodies in there to get second point, then you're already giving up this archway here. And I think this archway is more important than the second point in the situation.
Great observation, exactly, because then you can kind of get that high ground and drop down behind the defense, or the offense as well. We do have Tvik going hard right now with the visor, looking for targets, not quite finding any. He is going to lay a lot of damage into Gesture, but not before Gesture is able to slap Zupe into oblivion.
Not only was that a visor, I do believe that was a nano visor. The Ana ultimate came on him earlier. You can tell because the gun sounds even that much meaner. And they invested 2 ultimates in what amounted to absolutely 0. Their plan was to give up second, to try that fight and wipe there so they could hold there. Did not work out for them. They're going to have a Valkyrie, but so is the London Spitfire.
Exactly, they almost cancel each other out at this point. Manitin, he does have a Diva self-destruct as well. That can always be kind of fun around that angle, a little limited on where you can hide from it. But right now it's going to be Prophet putting a little bit of pressure here, just charging in, trying to collapse, and I love it. Great teamwork between him and Gesture, instantly dropping on Tvik. They forced the res, but that doesn't matter when Prophet is still picking up Zupe as well.
It was a beautiful teamwork dive to get in on there. Now they're going to force out the Valkyrie from the other side of things. Resurrections on both sides. We'll see who lives or dies when this is all shaken out. Fury's going to have a good angle if he wants to come over the top of the self-destruct as well.
Yeah, and Manitin not really able to get anything with that self-destruct. So here we go. Fury just chucks it into the corner. Not what you were expecting. Luckily, I think, luckily for Zupe, he was able to get back around. That was cutting it a bit close.
Just trying to lock down the door, and what better than a giant bomb sitting outside there? They will complete the streets of Numbani. And Spitfire not really held up a whole lot there. I can think of maybe 1-2 fights that Florida won.
Spitfire crushed the defense on A with the early picks. You're right, pointing that out. They get the res on Logics as well, and you can just, well, not Logics, rather, on Prophet, but I mean, he's just able to stay alive, pump damage, and it seems like Prophet just was able to stay alive the entire time.
It's really important for Tracers to stay alive and present that threat at all times, because when you die, then the other team knows that our backline's safe, everyone lock down this barrel, especially in first point of money, because the defense can only come in up that main street. You're already fighting a little bit uphill, which all battle tactics of history would tell us not the greatest of ideas, or you have to file in through the small stairs on the right-hand side, and none of those are really good either. So you're really stuck once you lose that pressure from the backline.
It's the choke points. You always have to get funneled in, and that's how it's all set up. Gives you points, hard points of defense. And so, like on the second point arch, that's what you were kind of hoping for there if you were Florida Mayhem, to kind of get a good shutdown, investing the nano boosted visor, and you kind of came up empty-handed. You can't really make those kinds of mistakes. You can't really stumble like that versus London Spitfire. They are clearly not going to let you get a second chance.
It's just about getting the value, and all through the preseason, Manitin's been a standout. He's been getting a lot of these big bombs, but a lot of the question has been for this team, and not only when they've been the Florida Mayhem, but in previous iterations of this roster. What are you doing when you're not getting enormous plays out of Pulse Bomb and Self-Destruct? And so what do you do when those things don't find fruition? And so far, they haven't had an answer.
Prophet was giggling away there. He is definitely cheerful. Things are going great for him. And Birdring as well, you know, doing tremendous damage on the soldier. So, I mean, things are looking very good here for London Spitfire. Now they're going to get the swap over to the defense, and we'll see if they are going to be able to hold here on this first point. When it comes to Florida Mayhem, Interesting decision here to actually go for the Widow, it looks like. And it looks like he'll be sticking with it as well. And so will Logix be able to find that first pick? That's what it's going to all be about. He needs to get that kill to open the gates for his team to just swarm onto the site.
Yeah, kind of neat for Spitfire there. They actually sent the D.Va down to the low ground just to scope it out, just to scout out what's happening. Of course, she's always going to be healed up and able to escape onto the high ground. So Swoosh is going to try to get to the back lines here. They're going to be a little surprised that they just got high ground for free. Let's see where this Widow ends up trying to post up.
Swoosh doing a great job staying alive here. They're moving together as a unit. Makes it a little bit easier for those heals to come through and keep you alive. Logix, though, he's under pressure, but he does manage to dash back thanks to the grappling hook. That mobility from Widow really making her a high threat.
They're trying to get these sight lines in. Prophet is taking down Swoosh on the other side of things. They know exactly where that Soldier 76 is. He does the favor of stepping right into the mine as well. And these dives have not been finding the targets that they want up top until now. Prophet and Fury combined take out both supports. This might turn the tide.
This is certainly going to do it. They have to now because Fury is still alive. He's still finding targets. They get the DMAC on Manadin, and that's going to be it. Well, no, not even the DMAC. He just chucks himself off the side of the cliff. No lovely water like on his Oasis. You know, on that side, it's just nothing but cliffs.
Oh, you didn't have to tell the people there was no water. It's the cliffs of despair out there.
There you go, exactly. It's dry, it's hot, no fun. And so, they go for the hard reset. That's the message I'm trying to get across here. Florida Mayhem, they realize they lose both of their supports. They're not going to have the healing. They aren't going to have the Valk, more importantly. And Zebasai, he is getting close to having Valkyrie up, but Nuss, he's already beat him to it. So it'll come down to that game of chicken. Who's going to crack first? Who's going to get the wings out first?
This is a really interesting defense. They simply don't care about the high ground. They're not presenting themselves to be available for snipers or anything of the sort. Valkyrie comes out for Mayhem to bring Tavik back to life.
That could have been a sick one. Not going to happen, though, with the self-destruct. Does buy a little bit of time. They've got one tick on the point now, Mayhem. And now, you know, when you have this passive defense, you need to remember that you have to have a presence on the point to actually contest. And sure enough, London Spitfire, they're figuring out how to make it work. Prophet killing Zupe certainly helps. And really now it's going to be another reset for Florida Mayhem. They aren't finding those trade frags right now, Hex, and that seems to be making the difference.
No, and they're throwing a lot of ultimates into the mix as well, unfortunately for them. One of the silver linings of Dosen Head going down so early in the previous two fights is he's going to have a nano up for the next fight. I think based on the style that they wanted to play, you're very likely going to see this onto Gesture. Birdring might get it, but I think the smarter target would be Gesture because their dives have been so smart. They're sitting in this corner. They're waiting for it. They're giving up the high ground with the notion that they're going to take it back when they're ready to.
Yeah, you can have an impact directly with the cleave from the Tesla cannon when you boost him. If you have to wait the entire time for Birdring to farm up that ult, though, that could take a little bit if he isn't going to be hitting shots. Tavik actually just going to throw down the biotic field immediately, getting a little bit scared, decides to back off, and they're going for another reset here, Florida. Don't want to have anything to do with it, but that is due to the nano boost getting used, and so they're willing to play patiently here. London and Spitfire have made their investment, and really all they got from it was time, but when Florida Mayhem only have a minute left on the clock, sure enough, 60 seconds, it is perhaps worth it.
Yeah, it was two ultimates to push them back. Gesture now, maybe not understanding he was not still boosted, goes in there and gets taken down. And now we've got a lot of trades coming back all across the board. Manitin very low is just going to try to remech and zone them out with the self-destruct.
And that's great, but Prophet is still alive. This guy keeps finding frags left and right. There's a second, the follow-up. He is making the difference right now for London Spitfire. Prophet, the standout player. He bought enough time for his teammates to get back in and start contesting that point again. And I don't know what you're doing if you're Florida Mayhem at this point. You can't back off. You've got 30 seconds, not even 20.
Prophet's got a receipt that just says Zupe because he has owned him all game. He has been a terror in that back line. Zupe has had no help to try to deal with Prophet. He's been so patient that come in onto the D.Va. She wanted a new mech. Out of mech, super vulnerable, and that's it. That's dead. You just don't get back in.
Well, here we go. It's the Hail Mary coming in from Florida Mayhem, hoping to dodge and hoping to actually push that payboard forward. And this is all that they need. London Spitfire, they have already done their part. They're up 3-0, and Florida Mayhem are desperate to pick up the point. Prophet still alive, hanging out in the trance, but he'll eventually, once again, find Zupe. Zupe is so low, and Prophet will get the kill, and Gesture boosted, just doing damage left and right.
Yeah, they haven't even really had to use resurrections, even though Nuss is in Valkyrie form, and now out of Valkyrie and recharging. Simply better value has been the tail of Numbani. Yet again, London will take it.
Fantastic work from London. Again, it's a bit of a trend. It's a little bit of what we saw yesterday from Seoul. You know, a little bit of a stumble at the start. They give you hope, and then they take it all away.
The teams with these Korean players are so good at making adjustments and getting more value out of things. So yes, they're going to stumble early on, and maybe they're going to give up a lot on the stage. Eventually, they put it all together and figure it out.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll hear what the analysts have to say about our first series of the day.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel. We are back live from the Blizzard Arena. It's Burbank, California, and the games continue to impress here as London Spitfire off to a slow start. They bounce back, they take it 3-1, and that's exactly what our analysts expected. Let's talk about the action coming off of Anubis. Crumbs, you said game 5, but I'll forgive you. Let's talk about the action coming off of Anubis. What improvements did you see from the London Spitfire, and what were your expectations before game 3 started?
The Spitfire got really good at identifying what the compositions that the Mayhem were trying to do and then picking accordingly, especially in Oasis in the first point. They see the Roadhog and Orisa composition come out, immediately they get hooked. Okay, 40% tick, they swap right away, triple tank, and they're able to just dispatch of the Mayhem ever since.
Did you like Mayhem's choice, though, on that opening push coming into that third map?
Yeah, for sure. So they had an interesting strategy developing. It was the Orisa working around Manhattan's Roadhog. He had a good hook accuracy coming into it as well, but unfortunately, London Spitfire fast at adapting. They switched over to the tank-based compositions. They used the Rhine, the Zarya, lots of high HP kind of heroes to really soak up the brunt force of those damages, and that's really how they overwhelmed them.
Yeah, and it only took at the very end for the Mayhem to swap to the Reaper to try to deal with it, but it was too late.
Brian, let's take a look at some of the best plays from game 3.
Let's do that, because they played absolutely incredibly on Oasis in particular. This is all tank play, by the way, so this is really highlighting how good Fury is. I went on about his Diva play, but he's also really quite a good Zarya as well, and you can see it really times up well with Gesture, who can pull out the Reinhardt whenever they can. You can see this just multiple Graviton Surges, Earth Shatters are coming out from them, but their tank play, their rotations of ultimates was really key during Oasis here. You can see they rotated them well, never really using too many at once, and you can see this is a play, I believe, from Gesture coming around the corner with the Earth Shatter, and this was beautiful. I mean, Semler really was happy with this one. He was creaming himself in the back room, but look at this now. It really just all around fantastic stuff.
I was really having a great time watching that game 3. Honestly, though, I thought it was going to be Florida Mayhem. It looked like in both of those rounds they had an advantage at a moment, but a guy named Prophet was causing some issues on the Genji. Let's take it to game 4, though, because I know you weren't watching the DPS, Crumbs. Your focus, once again, was on the tank play.
Yeah, towards the game 4, I felt like Fury, he got a little bit of confidence in that game 3 and decided to just step up on his D.Va. And we're going to watch him just get 4 kills here. He's just going to go off, and this is what the new D.Va does. You just can kill whoever you want. You can notice that the Discord targets are all lined up for him to just clean house, and he also served as a great defense for the Mercy simultaneously, which just allowed this team to steamroll through the Mayhem, and this is just going to be one final bomb kill onto Swoosh.
And a perfect placed one there. Brent, I have to ask you, you got Wuyall, you got, of course, Fissure, who's on the bench as well. Incredible tanks in their own right. How do they match up against Fury and Gesture, who we saw in the starting lineup for all 4 games today?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought they were going to be using Fissure a lot more, but that's apparently not the case. Instead, it's just been Gesture and Fury. Again, I've been going on and on about Fury. Gesture, however, has impressed me quite a bit because I didn't really see too much from him in the preseason. I didn't really think too much of his play, but no, he has turned up quite significantly.
All right, it's time for our player of the match. It's sponsored by Omen, by HP, and who's the winner here, guys? We talked about tanks, but it's Birdring on my screen. You're going DPS, Crumbs.
It's got to be Birdring for me. I mean, he just popped off on so many heroes as well. Here we see the Widowmaker just forcing all of the Mayhem back, but the Widow, the Genji, the McCree, the Tracer even in Dorado.
So flexible.
He just was able to adapt to every situation against the Mayhem, and it paid dividends.
And there's a clip of the guy I picked. I went with Bedozin. Everyone else went Birdring here. Brent, you did say Bedozin impressed you, but this DPS lineup looks so brutal for the London Spitfire.
Yeah, they've got a lot of flexibility. I mean, we talk about Seoul Dynasty, we talk about, I guess, Houston Outlaws as well as another example of having lots and lots of DPS available to them. But look at these stats on Birdrings as well. It's really just quite crazy. 44% scoped accuracy, a lot of damage being done as well, and not many deaths with a lot of eliminations to boot.
Let's wrap this one up, starting with you, Crumbs. We got a chance to watch both teams now officially playing in the regular season for the first time. Did Florida Mayhem improve from what you saw in the preseason?
Absolutely. This team came into the preseason without any practice whatsoever. The fact that they're able to return to their old contenders form and show some semblance of coordination and actually take maps off the London Spitfire is impressive, and you're hopeful in the future that they'll be able to actually compete against the Western teams at least. The Koreans are a little bit too far away, but for now, they're in a good spot.
Brent, is this the strongest London Spitfire we've seen so far in the preseason? We saw all of GC Busan playing together, and then Hagopen helping out with the Kongdu lineup as well.
Yeah, so I'm actually more of a fan of the old Kongdu roster that they ran in the preseason compared to this one, but it does show signs of hope, to be honest, and signs of life to be a really quite a strong composition and team. I mean, we were discussing it in the pre-show a little bit about how that's the main strength of the London Spitfire, the fact that they can mix and match these 12 players to really create a team that nobody can quite predict. And I think the more the season goes on, we're going to be seeing that quite often.
I have to give big props to the coaches over at the London Spitfire. They walk away with the first win of the day. But coming up next, we got match 2 of 3. Philly is going to be taking on Houston as we get a chance to check out the Fusion and their debut. The Overwatch League